right, would Councilman Bernson please preside?
Chair recognizes Councilman Wax for a presentation.
So we're going to all just stand around here. Where's Ziggy? Okay. Councilman Fuhrer, I'd like Councilman Fuhrer to join me, please. Where's Ziggy? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Members of the City Council, we have, as you know, over the years had the honor of having with us many championship teams which have represented our city at all levels, professionally, intercollegiately, high school. Probably none have excited their fans and brought honor to their school and to their city as much as the UCLA men's soccer team that is joining me here today at the podium. This is a team which, through remarkable personal achievement and even a more extraordinary coming together as a team, won the hearts of fans and people throughout this country when they won the 1997 national championship against five-time champion Virginia at Richmond before a record crowd. It was a great victory for a team, but I think it is a team that will be as remembered for its behavior and its human character off the field, as well as a team which played like real champions on the field. I think there are very few Americans who heard about how this team embraced a young man named Will Daniel in a way that won the hearts of not only the young man, but the hearts and minds of people throughout this country. Will was a young boy with Down syndrome who came to the airport with his mother, who was the official host for Richmond, to meet the team. And he was excited, as any young man would be. He was a great sports enthusiast. He came to the team, to the airport with his mom. He met the team. He was full of joy and excitement. The team greeted him, went on the bus, and in most cases that would have been in itself a wonderful thing and probably the end of it. It was only the beginning. This team embraced him. They brought him onto the bus with him. He sat next to the coach. He went to the hotel. He met everybody. The next day he was out on the practice field with him. He practiced with them. He rooted with them. They took him in as one of the gang. They took him in as one of their own. They treated him with a kind of respect and love that probably meant everything to him, but in return, as this is usually the case, he gave them perhaps the inspiration to be the kind of victors on the field that they were showing off the field. They, the night before, adopted the theme of love and kindness to push them through that game. He was there on the field, in the stands. When the game was over, they had Will up on the podium with him. He received a watch from one of the players. He received the same recognition that the players themselves had. I have the players and the coaches here today to give them an award. I also have an award for Will, which we will send to him. It's a certificate of recognition to him as well as the team, because as much as this team gave to him, I think that the team will tell you that he gave to them the inspiration and the sense of values that they'd exhibited, which were critical to them winning this stunning upset in Virginia. So I I'm just honored, as you know, as a former UCLA student body president, as one who has brought many UCLA teams here, who have brought great honor and distinction to our city, to this council chamber. This one is a team that, although I don't know the players individually, mean the world to me. When I read, for example, that one of the players took the watch that he had received as an award and his achievement for winning and gave it to Will, saying that he'll remember the game the rest of his life. Will have this to remember. I started reading these articles and I was moved beyond tears. I want to give, we don't have it today, that young man who gave his watch, a city watch, which at least will stand in its place as a recognition of the kindness that he exemplified. These are real champions, members of council. These are people who exemplify the finest qualities in characters as individuals as well as players, off the field as well as on. They are what inspire us. They are the people that set the example, the moral tone, as well as the example for skill and achievement that we want with our young people in this country and certainly in this city. So they have made us very, very proud. We have awards for each of them. Today I'm going to present the award to Ziggy Schmidt, who has been their coach for 18 years. He is their coach, he is their mentor, he is their friend, he is their inspiration. He is a person who has made our university and our city very, very proud. And so, Ziggy, and to all of the people on the team, I want, at this time, on behalf of the mayor and all of my colleagues, for this city council, to commend each of you for being champions on and off the field. And so, in declaring today, February 20th, 1998, to be UCLA Men's Soccer Team Day in the city of Los Angeles, by winning the 1997 NCAA Championship and embodying the spirit, values, virtues, and enduring lessons and rewards of friendship and love, this UCLA team has made this city and this world a better place in which to live. It is a thrill for me to present this to you, Ziggy, at this time. And before I ask you to say a few words, I would like my colleague, Councilman Fuhrer, who now has the honor of representing the UCLA campus, to also join us at this time and say a few words. So, Ziggy, before I present this, let me present my colleague, Councilman Mike Fuhrer.
Thanks, Joel. I want to say, Joel, that when you noted that you had been a UCLA student body president, I was looking at the expressions on some of the team here, and they're wondering if there were cars back then. So to say,
Cars? The big perk then was getting a Parkoa bag.
As I was reading about the exploits of all of you, I was thinking about my 4-year-old daughter, Danielle, who is in soccer class. In fact, today is her soccer practice day. And my 6-year-old son, Aaron, who has just gone through his first AYSO soccer season. And, you know, as all parents, I hope that they are tenacious and display real guts on the field, have a lot of skill, but also care a lot about their teammates and all those qualities as they play ball. But I think that at the end of the day, all of us want for our soccer playing kids and our kids just generally, most of all, what you have displayed with such grace and such elegance across the country in Richmond, Virginia. And that is that special character, that emotion, and that real caring for somebody else who you allowed into your lives and embraced when you didn't have to do that. There were a lot of hugs. I read all the articles. It says something so special about what burns most deeply inside you. It's not just a competitive spirit. It's a spirit that says, we're in this together. All of us are in this together in this world. And I am very moved by this. I noted that Will's mother keeps that watch in a special place. So it should always be a family treasure. And that shows you what an impact you've had. You have an impact on a lot of lives, but the impact on Will's life, I think, will be truly enduring. So thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to recognize an achievement that few of us can ever hope to match. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you.
Mr. President, this is Will's certificate, which we will be sending to him And this is the commendation which I have the honor to presenting to you, Ziggy, and to all the members of the team and the coaching staff and the entire UCLA family, which has continued a very, very proud tradition and has honored our school and our city and inspires all of us. It's a thrill to have you here. I'm glad you could be here. I'm glad all of the students could take a few moments off. I know you got to go back to class, some of you, but let me present this to you with heartfelt gratitude and appreciation, not only from all of my colleagues here, but from all of the people of this city. Even Trojans.
Thank you very much. First off, you know, this is tremendous. This is overwhelming. Winning the championship was something that thrilled our team immensely. Having the involvement with Will Daniel that we did, and as his mom said when she came to our banquet, remembering that there's other kids like Will Daniel right here in our own neighborhood that we need to help and also take into our hearts. But on behalf of UCLA and the UCLA soccer team, I would like to thank the City of Los Angeles, the City Council, Councilman Wax, Councilman Fuhr, and we have a little gift to present you afterwards as well. Without the support of UCLA and their broad-based athletic program, the support that they give us, you know, on the field with our teams, but also the support they give all the young men behind me in terms of the classroom, because not only do our players go on and succeed in soccer, and we have more players playing in the pro leagues than any other school, but also we've got, you know, guys who are neurosurgeons and aerospace engineers and doctors and lawyers and you know, city attorneys in Denver and things like that. So there's a number of our players that have taken their experiences from soccer and have put them to good use, not only on the field of soccer, but also outside the field of soccer. So you know, we're very thankful of that. I'm very proud of this team because they overcame a lot of adversity this year. We talked a lot this year about each day and each game you might have a different role to fill, and that's the thing that this team did very well. And in life, when we view everything we do in life, there's on certain days we have different roles, different jobs, and we have to do those roles and jobs to the best of our ability, and that's what this team did. What I would like to do is present on behalf of the UCLA soccer team, and I'd like to bring up my assistant coach David Vanoli and my boss, my associate athletic director Betsy Stevenson. We have a soccer ball for Councilman Wax for his office, signed by the team.
That is great. Thank you very much.
And for Councilman Fuhr, we have a UCLA jersey, which we expect him to wear at tomorrow's meeting. But tomorrow's Saturday, so we'll let him off on that one. So, you know, that's our appreciation.
That is fabulous.
This is something, the proclamation, we will display proudly, and I know each of the players will take back their own individual proclamations, and they will hang them in a place of honor in their homes, and it will be something that will serve them with a lifelong memory, which is the thing that all this was about. So thank you very much on behalf of UCLA Soccer, myself, and the UCLA Athletic Department. Thank you.
It is.
Chair recognizes Councilman Holden.
Mr. President, I want to commend Joel and, of course, Mike and the team. But it occurred to me that it was a clean sweep against USC. Football, basketball, and soccer. A clean sweep. That's
Not basketball yet.
yeah. They just beat them the other night. And so you have to watch what's going on in the sports section.
Did beat us.
It's a clean sweep. I don't know about the guys that go to USC, but the next time I go back to school, I'm going to go to UCLA.
That's why John's not here today.
That sounds
Thank you,
good.
Mr. Holden. I just want to add, there's more to being a champion than just playing like one. Acting like one is perhaps just as important or more important, and congratulations for that.
Thank you.
You're going to go in the back and take a group picture.
Okay, great. Thank you. We just follow you?
All right, Mr. Bernson for a presentation.
Can I have Mr. Deppie and Mr. Edelman and Richard, you want to come up here also? Mr. President, members of the council, we're here today to honor and say goodbye to Carl Deppe, who is retiring after 34 years of service to our city of Los Angeles in the Building and Safety Department. I normally don't read all the whereases, but I think that in this particular case, it is important that everybody understands the contributions that Carl has made to the safety of our city. Carl Deppe has completed more than 34 years of dedicated service. He began his career in June of 1963 as a civil engineer assistant with the Department of Building and Safety, where he promoted quickly up through the engineering ranks to senior structural engineer. In 1988, he moved into the upper management, and after years of conscientious service at this level, now retires from his position of Assistant Deputy Superintendent of Building 2. Carl has displayed professionalism and devotion to duty throughout his career and is especially commended for his dedicated, proactive work, guidance, and leadership at the city, state, and national levels in redeveloping our building seismic codes for the safety and benefit of our citizens. Carl has always been a friendly, concerned, and interested in the well-being of fellow employees, been a compassionate, approachable supervisor and manager who's genuinely interested in helping with problems and questions for his fellow workers. I'm not going to go through all the other things here. I think the thing that was really important, except for this one part right here, whereas Carl Deppe has made significant contributions to the development of our codes and has therefore helped to make the city of Los Angeles a safer place for its citizens to live. And I can tell you that in my work and in the work of this city, in ordinances such as the URM reinforcement ordinance, some of the codes changes that followed the Northridge earthquake, some of which are currently voluntary but need to be made mandatory. And we'll talk to some of you a little further on that later. Along with Richard Holquin, the two of them have really been a real force that this city has enjoyed in making sure that our buildings are a safe place for the people of Los Angeles. And maybe it isn't as romantic as some of the other occupations, such as a fireman or a policeman, but believe me, their decisions and their work have ensured safety for thousands, literally millions of people in the city of Los Angeles, and it should not go unnoticed. Carl, we hate to lose you, but I know you're going to be around. Hopefully we'll be seeing you, and you're going to continue your work in this area. So it takes great pleasure in presenting this to you. I'm going to call upon your department head, and I think Richard may want to say a few words before you make your comments, okay? Mr. Edelman?
Thank you. Mr. President, Mr. Deppe not only has contributed a great deal to the seismic safety of City of Los Angeles, but also the entire state and nation, because the criteria and the standards that he has developed, particularly in the area of unreinforced masonry buildings, has been used in many other cities and regions. The word around the Department of Building and Safety is that Carl Deppe is retiring after 35 years, but he really has worked 45 years because he has worked all those extra hours. I have had the pleasure of working with Mr. Deppe even before I come to LA, and it has been a tremendous opportunity for all of us to work with Mr. Deppe. Thank you for a job well done.
Richard, I know you want to say something.
Yes, what I would like to say is that Mr. Deppe is going to leave a tremendous void in the department. People don't understand what a tiger Carl has been. As most of you well know, getting retrofit ordinances passed is very difficult, and Carl was one of the few individuals in the department who had the stick-to-itness, the determination, the willingness to spend countless hours and time to make it, to get these ordinances passed. And it's going to be, like I said, a tremendous void to fill.
Now, Carl.
Well, thank you very, very much. What I want to do is I want to thank you council members, for your support. The seismic standards that we developed, especially after the Northridge earthquake. As I said in my scroll, that's going to make the city of Los Angeles a safer place in the next earthquake that we have. And as sure as I'm standing here and you're sitting there, we're going to have a next earthquake. I also want to mention that the venture that made, the joint venture that we made in the study of the damage after the Northridge earthquake, we have to give thanks to the private practicing engineer. They contributed their time and their expertise in buildings to the many standards that we developed that will not only benefit new construction, but will benefit existing buildings. And many of the buildings, by the way, which are vulnerable, are located in and around the downtown area. But I want to give most thanks to one of your fellow members of the council, and that's Councilman Hal Bernson. And I say this personally, not only on behalf of the department, and I think that if Earl Schwartz were here, who was very much involved in the URM program in the 70s, and Al Asakura in the 80s, they would say the same thing. This man has made an enormous contribution to the development of seismic standards, not only in his support, but in his leadership. And wherever I've gone in the past 10 to 12 years throughout the West, everyone is very envious of the city of Los Angeles having a Councilman Bernson. So I want to give special thanks to you, and I want to thank you again, and I wish you all well.
Thank you very much, and we agree with your remarks. We agree with your remarks regarding the leadership of Councilman Bernson, and on behalf of the entire City Council, we thank you for your years of dedication and service to the citizens of Los Angeles. Chair recognizes Mr. Alatorre.
Mr. President and members, today I have the great privilege of recognizing an individual that in the 1960s was a reporter, a cub reporter here in City Hall when he was working for KWKW. In that capacity, he won 2 Golden Mike Awards, one for the exclusive interview that he had with then President of the United States, Richard Nixon. But today, I am pleased to introduce him and to honor him for the 40 years that he has brought great pleasure to the Spanish-speaking community, not only here in Los Angeles, but throughout the world, by his play-by-play announcing of the Los Angeles Dodgers. His consecutive years total with the Dodgers ranked second highest and longest by a play-by-play announcer with one club. In several months, Jaime Jarrín will be recognized and given an award, the Ford C. Frick Award for outstanding contributions to the sport. But more importantly, he will be inducted in the Baseball Hall of Fame at Cooperstown in July. This man has been a legend and continues to be a legend. He has provided an opportunity for the Spanish-speaking community to even love baseball more than they loved it before through his play-by-play announcing. Probably has one of the greatest voices that you ever want to have. Great sports announcer, but also a journalist in the highest tradition. Para mí es un honor y un orgullo a reconocer a una persona que ha traído tanto al juego de béisbol aquí en Los Ángeles y para la gente que habla español. Ha hecho este trabajo por más de 40 años y para mí es un privilegio introducirlo y darle este reconocimiento. To my friend Jaime Jarrín, I ask you to please step forward along with Tommy Hawkins, if you'd like, to represent the Dodgers. And we ask you to accept this award in honor of your 40 years of work as a play-by-play announcer with the Los Angeles Dodgers. But the highest award that can be given, obviously, is induction in the Hall of Fame. There's only one other Spanish-speaking person that has been inducted into the Hall of Fame like him, but it was done posthumously. This is being done while he is alive and while he is well and while he continues to bring great pleasure of baseball to the Spanish-speaking community. To Jaime Jarin, I congratulate you for all the great work you have done.
Mr. Alatorre.
Let me acknowledge and have the head of public affairs, great basketball player from Notre Dame and the Lakers, Tommy Hawkins.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I've got only half of my voice today, so I will be brief. But we'd like to thank you for this recognition. The community of Los Angeles is #1 in the hearts of the Dodgers and the Dodger organization, and Jaime Jarin has been so much to our growth and development. Thank you so much for this recognition.
Thank you.
Before I ask Jaime to say a few words, let me introduce to you his son, who is following in his footsteps, not necessarily in baseball, but you hear him on the news. He is the person that you hear on the helicopter every day. His son, Mr. Jorge Jarin. Jorge.
Jorge. Jaime, just one moment. Members of the council wish to be heard. We begin with Council Member Richard Alarcon. Sir.
Well, it's a pleasure to join with our colleague Richard Alatorre in recognizing probably one of the most recognizable radio announcers in the Los Angeles region. Even though his program is in Spanish, he is well known in every Spanish-speaking household. And as you visit homes where Spanish is the primary language, quite often you'll hear Jaime's voice in the background because they're listening to the Dodger game. And he's actually contributed to the Spanish vocabulary by trying to translate baseball words into Spanish. He's actually created some vocabulary in Spanish because some of those words you just can't translate the same way. And so it is really a pleasure indeed for us to recognize this tremendous addition to advancing the cause of bridging the two cultures together through somewhat of an unrecognized form, and that is through baseball. He has actually bridged a gap between the American culture and the Latin culture by virtue of his announcing. And of course, we all recognize his son, Captain Jorge. If you didn't recognize it by the introduction from Councilmember Alatorre, please know this is Captain Jorge. And again, the father has passed the tradition on to the son, and we're just so happy to have you here in council today for this recognition. Congratulations on 40 years.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hernandez, please.
You know, I just kind of also had to stand because not only is it some of the words he's had to come up with to explain what baseball is about, but, you know, you could be driving down the Coachella Valley on the 99 freeway and stop at any town and ask many of the people there who Vin Scully is, and they're going to look at you with wonderment. You ask who Jaime Jarin is, and they're going to tell you the announcer for the Dodgers. And the reality is Jaime Jarin is a name that people recognize in the Spanish-speaking community, who's been there for a long time and really brought baseball into neighborhood homes, brought baseball into farm workers' homes, brought baseball throughout the whole place. I just know when I grew up listening to baseball, it was listening to Jaime Jarin. I just know that in many of the neighborhoods I walk and talk to people, they're listening to Jaime Jarin. And I want to recognize him because he is a community leader and he's someone that people listen to.
Thank you, Mike.
Jaime, the floor is yours, sir.
Mr. President, Mr. Alatorre, members of the City Council, it is a great honor for me to be here this morning. Es un honor muy grande para mí estar aquí con ustedes esta mañana. It was almost 43 years ago, June 1955, when I came to this country. I don't know why I decided to come to Los Angeles. I could have gone to Miami, New York, they were closer to Ecuador. But I don't know, I decided to come to Los Angeles. When I came here, I knew nobody. I thought that I speak some English, but when I got here, I was lost. I couldn't speak the language. It was very tough. Los Angeles was really a beautiful, beautiful city, still is. But in the 50s, Los Angeles was so peaceful, so nice. You didn't have to lock your doors. You left bicyclists, tricyclists in the front yard, no problem. Now it's very tough, and that hurts me a lot. Being here this morning brings me great memories because before I became known as a baseball announcer, I was a radio man, newsman, and I was assigned to cover the City Hall. I remember Mr. John Gibson. I remember Don Eduardo Roybal, who was the only Spanish-speaking councilman. I remember Gilbert Lindsay when he was a field deputy to Kenneth Hahn. Those were great days in the early 60s. Then I was so lucky to find a job with the best sports organization in the world, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Next July 26th, I will be going to Cooperstown. I will be joining the titans of my broadcasting field. I will be the 21st member of the Hall of Fame, broadcasters win, and I am still in cloud 9. Since February the 2nd, when I was informed that I have been selected to get the Ford Frick Award and go to the Hall of Fame, I have been so excited. It has been so hectic, but really it's fantastic. And this morning, being here in this chambers is something that I will never forget. When I came to this country, I never thought, I never dreamed that I will be speaking here to you. I came here as a very proud immigrant, and I came here as a very proud Ecuadorian. But 8 years later, I became a citizen of this country because I realized then how beautiful this country is. And I wanted to really go into the life of this country and try to do a better service, try to do a better job in order to be something that the United States will be proud of me. So this morning I just wanted to tell you how proud I am, and thank you very much for this great day. Gracias.
We thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Alatorre, we thank you for that special presentation. And now for another special presentation, we recognize the Honorable Laura Chick.
Thank you, Mr. President. After those very awesome and inspiring words, we are moving on to recognize a very different kind of issue, and it's not involving actually a special human being as we just did, but it's involving our animal population. Spaying and neutering dogs and cats has been proven to dramatically reduce the number of unwanted animals, and it has been proven to be one of the most effective ways and one of the most effective solutions to our overpopulation of pets, and it improves the health of animals. Think about these facts. One unaltered cat and her unaltered offspring can produce 420,000 cats in 7 years. And one unaltered dog and her offspring can produce 67,000 dogs in 6 years, thereby significantly contributing to the problem of pet overpopulation. The tragic condition swells the number of animals in our city shelters, costs taxpayers millions of dollars every year, and results in more than 12 million dogs and cats being euthanized, put to death, in shelters across our nation because there are too many animals and too few responsible pet owners. The City of Los Angeles Department of Animal Services, as well as veterinarians and humane organizations around the country, are raising the public's awareness about pet spaying and neutering by promoting Spay Day USA in the City of Los Angeles on February 24th, 1998, which is held in conjunction with the 4th Annual National Spay Day USA. This is a national program sponsored by the Doris Day Animal League, and we encourage all dog and cat owners who live in our city to observe this day by making sure that their pets are spayed or neutered. And I would like to now introduce the acting general manager of our Animal Services Department, Sharon Morris, Joe Walton, who is the senior director from the Western Regional ASPCA, Ginny Barrett, our very own director, Western Regional American Humane Association, and I believe I have one more person whose name I'm having trouble with. Is it Ryan Hero? Rich Hero, I'm sorry. And Rich, your organization? Animal Foundation. Rich is from the Animal Foundation. These are all the organizations that try so hard to make us responsible pet owners and to reduce over pet population, and they are here to join me at the podium, and so are some of our other furry friends, examples of, oh, I want a puppy. Mr. Fuhr, come join me. And Mr. Wax, I understand you want to repeat the performance from last year?
Get the towel, Joel.
You want to?
Hello, yes, I know.
And while we fall in love with our new puppy friends, I'm going to turn the mic over to Sharon Morris and let her say a few words. But we're really hoping this message gets across. It's a serious problem, and not only a costly one, but one that promotes humane treatment of dogs and cats. Sharon.
Thank you, and good morning. We're really pleased to be here and appreciate this. We're pleased.
Yeah, bring the mic up.
There we go. We're going to have to get you some platform shoes. We appreciate being here and the recognition of Spay Day USA. Spaying and neutering pets is really the keystone to an effective pet population program, and Councilwoman Chick has already talked about the need to decrease euthanasias in this city, and we are just so pleased to work with the ASPCA. This is really an example of the kind of public-private partnership we need in this city to really achieve humane treatment of animals. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I don't know if
Ms.
any of our
Goldberg.
other leaders wanted to join in
Ms.
here.
Goldberg would like to say something.
Great.
Yes, for the people who are watching this at home and who want to get their animals spayed or neutered, what do they do now? How do they participate in this?
Here we go. Ms. Morris.
I'm glad you asked.
Yes.
We have just recently, with the Animal Foundation, Mr. Hero's organization, opened a low-cost spay or neuter clinic at our North Central facility on Lacey Street.
How do they reach them? By phone?
And Rich, your phone number is?
226-0065, 213 area.
Okay. How old does an animal have to be?
8 weeks.
And does it have to have had a litter already?
No, that does not.
Thank you very much.
And I would also...
Very good.
I would also like to invite everyone to our Spay Day LA festivities, which will be the grand opening of the clinic on March 15th. It's a Sunday at noon, and the vouchers that we are receiving today will, along with others, will be distributed that day for free spay and neuter on a first-come, first-served basis, and we'll also be having free pet vaccinations. So we'd appreciate everyone coming out on that day. Thanks.
Sharon, on behalf of Roger Karras, the president of the ASPCA in New York, who's just finished Westminster and couldn't be here with us, and Dr. John Hamill, the chairman of the Western Regional Advisory Council, the ASPCA, in the United States' oldest humane society, 132 years old this month, is pleased to grant a subsidy grant for the first 100 subsidized spays or neuters at the new Los Angeles City facility. We admire this facility and think that it stands as testimony to the commitment of this community to serve all of its citizens, animal and human. Sharon?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You don't get up here yet. I'm Jenny Barrett. On behalf of the Board of Commissioners of the Department of Animal Services, I would like very much to thank Joe Walton and the ASPCA and Roger Karras for that very generous donation and for demonstrating how we can all work together to help save animals. On behalf of the American Humane Association, I would like to recognize the presence of the ASPCA here in our city and acknowledge our shared heritage. The ASPCA is the oldest humane organization in the United States, formed in 1866. About a decade later, the founders of the ASPCA and other SPCAs that have been created founded the American Humane Association to be the first national organization to link them all together. So our forefathers are a shared legacy, and we have a long, well over 100 years history of collaboration and cooperation, and we are very excited to have them here in Los Angeles.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you, Ms. Goldberg. Oh,
Before we leave, I would also like to thank our staff from our North Central shelter for bringing these beautiful adoptable animals down today. Thank you. This one too?
This one's adoptable.
Any council members want to adopt a puppy?
We deliver to council members.
Now, or are they finished?
We're done. Okay.
Oh, I have to get my bag.
Oh.
Joel, you don't want to do that again.
I hope this is not an indication that the council has gone to the dogs, but the chair will recognize Mrs. Walters.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'm here this morning to acknowledge the service of and commend Frank Signor for that service. If Mr. Signor would come up, please. Here he is. Council members, Mr. Signor, is that the correct pronunciation? Signor, Mr. Signor began his career with the City of Los Angeles on December 29, 1969 as an auto parts storekeeper in the Department of Transportation and later was promoted to senior auto parts storekeeper in March 73. Frank transferred to the Department of General Services in 1979 and received several promotions during the next 8 years from senior storekeeper 2 to principal storekeeper 2. Throughout his career, Frank's dedication to the City of Los Angeles has been defined by the improvement shown in his area of responsibility. During the past 7 years and 5 months, Frank has been directly responsible for increasing the income generated by the city by the salvage sales process from less than $600,000 per year to $6 million in the year ending July 1997. I think we can all say that's a significant accomplishment. That is terrific, just terrific. Also, Frank has been directly responsible for the development of several exceptional and productive employees. And so it is with great pleasure that I congratulate, and council members, I'm sure you do too, Mr. Frank Signor on his 28 years of dedicated service to the City of Los Angeles and extend my best wishes for wonderful retirement.
Thank you so much.
Yes, you're more than welcome. Okay.
I've had a wonderful career with the City of Los Angeles, and I want to thank you very much for this.
We might say that he's a very modest man, and there are many people here from the department and his family, if you'd stand up and be recognized as well. Okay. Good. We're going to really miss you, especially at budget time.
Ms. Galanter for a presentation.
Mr. President and members of the council, one of the nice things about Fridays is we get to talk about some of the good things going on in our city, and I'm very pleased to introduce you to some of the good things going on in our city. This is a group of residents of the Oakwood area of Venice. You have all heard about the Oakwood area. It's in the papers all the time, usually not about the good things that are going on there. But we have many reasons to celebrate in the Oakwood area. We have what used to be the library building with 7 local community-based organizations actually working together to resolve a whole series of problems. And outside of the building, in the Oakwood neighborhood on the streets, we have this wonderful band of volunteers who have been planting trees. Nobody is ever going to be able to say again that the Oakwood area is neglected or unbeautified, because here are the folks who get out there and do the work. And I've asked them to come in this morning so that we could recognize them publicly for their, not only the work they've done, but their initiative in getting the program together, working with my office and with everybody in the community to make sure that the trees get planted, that people know how the trees got there, that they were brought by the community and local residents, and that everybody knows how to make sure the trees are taken care of. So this morning, I want to present to, I hope I've got the right number here. Yeah, well, right. I always worry that we're going to wind up with it's like pancakes and syrup, that the people in the certificates won't quite match. These are in no particular order, but these are our volunteers extraordinaire.
How does pancakes and syrup get in a mix it up?
You weren't paying attention. They don't come out even sometimes. So this is for Natalie Lawless. Hang on. Hold that picture. Richard Carno. I always turn the wrong way here. Peter Knott. Mindy Myers. And Gloria Hennessy. These are the folks, you should all have people like this in your neighborhoods. They get a whole lot of work done, and we are all very grateful. Does anybody want to say anything? I knew you would. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. We're really honored. We had no idea, really. I just want to say that it's so essential to keep supporting the Los Angeles Conservation Corps. Without them, we never would have been able to do this. It's a phenomenal program. Not only do you get the opportunity to beautify your neighborhood, but you get to bring the whole community together. So please keep funding and supporting and supporting the Los Angeles Conservation Center and Clean and Green, which is a youth group through LACC. I have to share this moment with you. The last planting we did, we planted 42 trees. So now we have a total of 92 trees on Broadway in Venice. And there is one of the buildings that's federally subsidized. There were 2 girls who happened to work in Clean and Green, and they've been planting trees all over the city and being compensated financially for it, which is a great thing. And they got to plant trees in front of the apartment building where they live. So that was really special for them. So thank you guys for honoring us today, and thank you in advance for your continued support for groups that make things like this happen. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. President. Okay, coming back. We'll go get a fancy photo.
Waiting for you.
The chair recognizes Mr. Alarcon.
Council members, it's my pleasure to recognize an institution in the Northeast San Fernando Valley that is celebrating their 50th anniversary. And before I mention that organization, let me say that one of the beauties of the Northeast San Fernando Valley is it has a very rich, diverse history, as I think most of you all know. Well, one thing that people don't recognize completely is that it has a tremendous history and a rich history of African American churches. We have about, and my count may be off at this point, but we have about 27 predominantly African American Christian churches in the Northeast San Fernando Valley with a rich history that has really added to the flavor of the Northeast San Fernando Valley. Well, Parks Chapel African Methodist Episcopal Church, Parks AME, was established 50 years ago, and I want to share another little bit of history with you. The reason that's significant, at least from my perspective, and I'm just guessing here, but that 50 years ago was obviously 1948. And what people, what I have recognized is that after World War II, there were a lot of opportunities for veterans, particularly from minority communities, but also veterans in general, landed in the San Fernando Valley and in the Northeast San Fernando Valley, where, quite frankly, we have to recognize there was a history in the San Fernando Valley during that time that had to do with housing discrimination, and that was the housing, the Fair Housing Council was formed in the San Fernando Valley. But a lot of the African American veterans from World War II landed in the San Fernando Valley. Now, my guess is that many of the founders of Parks Chapel were either veterans of World War II or spouses of veterans from World War II. I could be wrong, but I have found that that is quite often the case in the Northeast San Fernando Valley. So I am very pleased to present a resolution to Reverend Jordan Davis, the pastor of Parks Chapel, in recognition of their 50th anniversary. And I want to present to you Mrs. Medell Steiner, who is the last living founding member of the church. In fact, the first worship service was held in the Steiner living room, and the first sanctuary was a tent erected in front of the Steiner home. Well, they've come a long way from a tent. And I should say also that Mrs. Steiner's husband, the late Curtis Steiner, purchased and erected the tent. So you actually owned the church. They also bought a piano and made the wooden pews. So clearly we are especially pleased to be joined by one of the founding members of Parks Chapel. I want to mention that after the second time the wind, wait a minute, I missed something here. Well, apparently the tent blew down in one service, but it happened that it blew down a second time, and after the second time the wind blew their tent down, they knew it was time to find a more permanent location, and a building was purchased, and 3 days later they found a parcel of land to relocate the building. So their first permanent site for Parks Chapel AME was located at Louver and Bradley in Pacoima, and most recently they moved to the city of San Fernando, but still many of the congregants live in the city of Los Angeles. So it is very much a pleasure to present, whoops, I have three, I'm supposed to have two. Let me give you the resolution recognizing Parks Chapel African Methodist Episcopal Church, excuse me. And I'd like to present this to Pastor Jordan Davis. Congratulations. We have two for you. And I'd like to present this certificate of tribute to Medell Steiner for her tremendous participation in the church, really as a founding member, part of the foundation of this church, and she continues to be active and contributing to the continued well-being of this church, and we salute you. And by the way, I visited their new location in San Fernando on several occasions, and I have to tell you that they have found a beautiful church, a beautiful home with a history of its own, and I am very, very, even though you left Pacoima and went to the city of San Fernando, I have to tell you that there are no boundaries, if you know what I mean. That's right. And we're very proud that you have made this move. So congratulations, from a tent to a beautiful church in San Fernando. Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Councilman Alarcon, Mr. President, council members, we are awed by God's marvelous work in the San Fernando Valley. We are the only African Methodist Episcopal Church in the San Fernando Valley. Well, we're probably the biggest one too. Amen. But we have just a few members of Parks Chapel here today that I'd like to have come and say just a few words. First, let me introduce Mr. Alonzo Woodfin III.
Good afternoon, or good morning. I was thinking back, and it was in 1951 when I was 9 years old, and I was walking the streets of Pacoima on one Sunday morning with my two sisters. I was 9, one was 6, and the other was 3. And we heard this music coming from this looked like to me a garage, and we decided to go in. And when we went in, we found out that this was Parks Chapel, African Methodist Episcopal Church. And I do want to tell you, we joined on that day, and we were welcomed by Ms. Medell Steiner and her husband, Curtis Steiner. Thank you.
And Ms. Sherilyn Jones.
Good morning. Just very quickly, how did Parks Chapel AME Church come into being? In 1948, Reverend Owens, a San Fernando resident, realized the need for an AME church in Pacoima and suggested to his good Christian friend, Reverend S.H. Ford, that he explore the idea of beginning an AME mission in Pacoima. Upon his arrival in Pacoima, Reverend S.H. Ford began making inquiries of local residents about possible AME Christians. Reverend Ford was then directed to a Mrs. Dorothy Mitchell, who took Reverend Ford to the residence of Curtis and Maydell Steiner. Do you have 5 Christian friends that will support you on one day's notice? Curtis and Maydell Steiner did. It was with the aid of their 5 AME Christian friends that Curtis and Maydell Steiner established the first AME Church of Pacoima, presently Parks Chapel AME Church of San Fernando. Thus, in February 1948, Parks Chapel AME Church had its beginning at 13166 Fillmore Street, Pacoima, in the home of Curtis and Maydell Steiner. There were 7 members present, worshiping under the leadership of their first minister, Reverend S.H. Ford. Thank you.
And Ms. Bobby Bonarise.
I'd like to give you a concise history of the African Methodist Episcopal Church. The African Methodist Episcopal Church was born during a need for affirmative action, most particularly action in the places of religious worship. The AME Church, the Church of Liberation, was born as a protest against racism. It was first known as a free African society. This was the first serious attempt for Black people to organize for liberating their minds, bodies, and soul from oppression. Richard Allen, our founder, refused to accept second-class status in any religious worship service. He separated himself and others in 1787 and started the AME Church in a blacksmith shop. He put the Bible on an anvil and began proclaiming, "Thus says the Lord." The year 1816, he was elected and consecrated the first bishop of the AME Church. The word African relating to the AME Church means descendants from Africa. The AME Church was organized by persons of African descent. The use of the word African does not mean the exclusion of other races. It simply identifies the race of people that started the AME Church. The motto of the AME Church is inclusive. It says, "God our Father, Christ our Redeemer, and man our brother." The M stands for Methodist. The E stands for Episcopal, the form of government. The highest office in the AME Church is that of the bishop. The African descendants then, as now do, have tolerance for all races of people, evidenced by the multicultural congregations that do exist. The AME Church is a connectional church, meaning that it is in union and is widespread. It has churches in a continuous 49 states, excluding Hawaii. The AME Church that started in a blacksmith shop in Philadelphia by God's grace has spread throughout the United States, Canada, West Indies, London, England, and 2 continents, Africa and South America. The worldwide membership totals into the millions. Thank you.
And we'd like to present our mother, our founder, and our wisdom, Mrs. Maydell Steiner, who we're so happy to have with us. We thank God that she's yet alive, that we can show her our appreciation for all the love that she has given us. Would you have something to say today, Mother?
Just good morning, and so happy to be here and to look into your faces and tell you how we appreciate you coming out and letting us know that you are here to respect you for.
Thank you, Mother. Well, Councilman Alarcon, as the 16th pastor of the Parks Chapel African Methodist Episcopal Church, let me say thank you, and thank you to the council for your recognition, and we praise God that we will be able to continue another 100 or more years service in San Fernando Valley. God bless you today.
I'd just like to finish by saying I wasn't surprised at all to hear about the history of the AME Church. I just want to say that they continue to be activists in our community, and Pastor Jordan Davis and Parks Chapel have spearheaded our efforts to convene all congregations and all faiths in an effort to collaborate on how to do something to reduce gang violence in the Northeast San Fernando Valley. So I personally want to extend my thanks for your efforts to reduce gang violence. Thank you very much.
Mr. President.
Mr. Ridley Thomas.
I simply wanted to commend Mr. Alarcon for acknowledging the local history that many of us have come to know and appreciate, and to recognize that it enriches the environment. To talk about a story of a church beginning with rather humble beginnings, as was the case of this congregation and the African Methodist Episcopal Church, gives depth to the experience, the religious experience of various cultures in our community, and certainly gives us a reason to appreciate the breadth, the diversity of the city that we know as Los Angeles. And I simply wish to acknowledge our local heroes, our local heroines, and the effort to make this city more of what it can and ought to be. Thank you, Mr. Alarcon.
Thank you, Mr. Alarcon. The next item.
Special 1, Mr. President, has been introduced this morning by Councilmember Galanter. The necessary findings would have to be made. This is a friendly Prop 5, and the city attorney will go over those findings with you.
Yes. On February 17th, 1998, the Board of Water and Power Commissioners approved payment of approximately $1,232,000 pursuant to a writ of mandate issued by the Superior Court in the case of the people of the state of California and the Great Basin Unified Air Pollution District versus the city et al. This motion is to Prop 5 it to take jurisdiction so that the payment could be made immediately. The Council would need to make the findings that there is an immediate need to act, and the need to act arose after the posting of the agenda.
So move.
Okay, prepare the roll on the findings. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Now we have the matter before us. Is there any discussion?
The next vote, Mr. President, would be to assert jurisdiction over the action of the Board of Water and Power Commissioners taken February 17th.
Okay, prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Now we have the matter before us. Ms. Galanter asks for an aye vote. Prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Forthwith.
Forthwith, please.
Okay. Okay. Members of the council, Commander Denzi is here and he wants to give us a very brief report on the emergency operations today meeting. What is that called, Commander?
The Emergency Operations Board, Mr. President, which is part of the Emergency Operations Organization of the city. Thank you very much. I've been asked to come by Chief Parks to brief the council regarding a declaration of local emergency which was declared by the mayor on the 18th of February. As you're all well aware, that places the response to any disaster in the hands of the Emergency Operations Board. The Chief of Police is going to call an emergency meeting of the board this afternoon at 2 o'clock and ensure that the business of the city in relation to its response to this disaster is functioning properly. And he wanted you to know about that, and maybe I could respond to any questions. As of right now, the County of Los Angeles and the City of Los Angeles have declared local emergencies. It has been accepted by the state, and the state has also recognized that. It is in the process of being recognized by the federal government, and upon that recognition, which we believe will occur shortly, that will free up funds to reimburse the city and its citizens for those non-insurable damages that have resulted over these recent storms. And if there's any questions concerning this process or where we're going with it, I'd be happy to answer them.
Commander, who's on this board now?
This is the Emergency Operations Board. It's chaired by the Chief of Police, and it consists of all of the major 13 city department heads who will respond to all of these emergencies as they are declared.
Okay. Any questions? If not, Commander, thank you very much. All right, the next item.
Item number 1, Mr. President, is a required public hearing, Planning and Land Use Management Committee report.
Yeah, we have somebody that wants to be heard on that, Don Maury. He's for the committee report, so
For the record,
maybe he'll say something that will change our minds. You want to talk?
No, sir. For the record, my name is Don Maury, 233 Wilshire, Santa Monica. I'm here representing the appellant, and we are in full support of the committee recommendation. I'm here to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Okay, public hearing is closed. Is there any discussion on this item? If not, prepare the roll on item number 1. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That is approved. Next item.
Items 2 through 13 and 20 and 21 are items for which public hearings have been held.
Mr. President, if we could just refer item 4 to my committee, to Arts Committee, as opposed to hearing it today, I appreciate it.
Is there any objection to referring 4 to the committee? Seeing none, that'll be the order. Members of the council, we've had public hearings on this, but we have people who want to be heard on 9. We have people who want to be heard on 20. And we have people who want to be, 9 and 20.
Mr. President,
But we've had public hearings.
yes, and on item 9, there's been a request to continue that to February 27th, next Friday.
Is there any objections to continuing item 9 until the 27th? Seeing none, that'll be the order, and those people who are here on that item will be continued until the 27th, a week from today. Ms. Goldberg,
I wanted to call 5 special.
5 is called special.
And do we need to call 20 to do the amendment? And 20 for the amendment that's been passed out.
Okay. All right. Okay, now let's see. We'll go through. We have items 2 through 13 with the exception of 4 and 5, 9, and we have 20 and 21 and with the exception of 20.
And I need a motion on item 2 to change the bid date from the March 3rd to March 11th.
Mrs. Walters moves. There's no objections on that. So prepare the roll on those items. The only
Did anybody call item 10 special, Mr. President?
No.
I'd like to call that special then.
All right, 10 is called special. All right. Prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Those are approved, and we have 5, 10, and 20 left. Is that correct, Ms.?
You have 5 Goldberg, 10 Hernandez, 20 amendment to come in, and the rest were adopted, with the exceptions noted by council already.
Okay. All right, the next item.
Items 14 through 18 are items for which public hearings have not been held.
We have somebody that wants to be heard on 17.
17B.
17B. So we'll call 17B special. So what do we have now? We have
You have 17B special, and item 14, there's been a request to continue the entire matter to February 27th in order to clarify the ordinances.
all right, is there any objection to continuance 14 to 1 week? Seeing none, that'll be the order. All right, we have
15 through 18 with the exception of special 17B.
Okay. Prepare the roll on those. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Those are approved. Next item.
Item 5, special Goldberg.
Mrs. Chick has asked that we take item 20. Now, I want to point out, Mrs. Chick, did you have public hearings in the committee?
Not on the amendment, but we did on the other body of the item that's before us. And part of the amendment is going to be coming back and not be voted on as a final issue today.
Okay. Well, I just want...
But I believe
I just want to point out that there are people who want to be heard, but it's not a public hearing item. Mrs. Chick, you have the floor.
Okay, and Mr. President, if possible, I would like to allow the people here today to speak. Apparently, they did not know it was in Housing Committee, and they have not had an opportunity to address us before. Perhaps if they could limit their comments to 5 or 7 minutes. I don't know how many cards you have. Colleagues, this is revisiting the rent stabilization ordinance, a change that was made back in the late 80s before many of us were here, and certainly before the Northridge earthquake struck. And we have learned some lessons from that disaster that cause a revisiting to the rent stabilization ordinance. And the recommended changes before you are as follows. Well, let me start by saying we absolutely want to assist property owners in having the ability to rehabilitate or rebuild their buildings and provide ongoing housing for their tenants. But what we are suggesting is that the recuperation of those costs should be tied to the real cost. And part of what's before us today says that there's a time limit on recouping these costs tied to the full reimbursement. The way it had originally been done is the increase went on ad infinitum. What's before you today changes that. In addition, we want a cap on the maximum amount of allowable pass-through. Mr. Fewer, in our last discussion, asked for this to be delayed, and part of the amendment here today comes from his bringing up last week, or earlier this week, that rather than having the cap at $75 maximum, it should be either $75 or 10% of the tenant's rent, whichever is less. In addition, before you on 20A is looking at the whole issue, which we looked at in Housing Committee, of encouraging property owners to responsibly have earthquake insurance. And what we are asking the city attorney to do is to come back and not only tell us, can we require earthquake insurance of all property owners of multiple family properties, but can we do it in this way, which is an incentive, saying the only way you can collect 100% of your rehabilitation costs is if you have earthquake insurance. Otherwise, you can only get 50%. And finally, this is clarifying and making sure that if a property owner has a government or other loan that either defers payments or allows, as we all know, tax write-offs on interest, that the only amount tenants are being asked to repay is the principal on the loan, and they are not being asked to make payments until the property owner, him or herself, starts to make payments on that loan. So these are all common sense changes that I think strike a very appropriate balance between giving the property owner the ability to have the funds to make the rehabilitations and repairs when a natural disaster occurs, but puts into place protections for tenants so that they are not literally forced out of these repaired units because the rent has become too expensive. So I look forward to your support on this. Some of the information will be coming back to us on the ability to only allow 50% if there is no earthquake coverage. The rest, I would ask for your support to go forward today.
Okay.
We are also asking
All right,
the city
Miss-
attorney to allow us to make some of this retroactive, the part about
Mrs.
ending payments to be in conjunction with the real cost.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, is there any objection to allowing, we have cards for 3 people, and we allow them, okay, Trevor Grimm, and then Kay Pfeiffer, and then Steve Melnick.
Thank you. Good morning. My name's Trevor Grimm, 621 South Westmoreland Avenue, Los Angeles. I'm an apartment owner and general counsel of the Apartment Association of Greater Los Angeles. There's 2 parts to what we have in front of us. One came recently that we hadn't seen, and that has to do, well, we have seen it, but we haven't had the city attorney's report on retroactivity. And it seems to me that it's fraught with problems, but until we get the report, that's probably not ripe for discussion. The second point is this constant changing of the rules. I guess their perspective, at least what's in motion in item number 20. When we started this rent control, let's call it business, there was a carrot to owners that they could recapture certain monies, rehabilitation, capital improvements, and so forth. And that was for the reason of improving the city's housing stock, maintaining it, and for the benefit of tenants who are going to get the benefit of what was done to the apartments. But Since the beginning, we've tightened the rules down, so that carrot's down to maybe an hors d'oeuvre now. I'm not sure that there's a factual basis for doing this. We have reports that there are bad areas in the city. About 3%, I think the truth is, from the statistics we have from the federal government, the same as it was 10 years ago. But the more you shrink, it seems to me, the wherewithal of owners to upgrade, maintain, as some of the members that were here in 1978 were cognizant of, to make something from their investment, you're not going to have the city you want to live in. So you can keep turning the screws and making it less and less profitable to run apartment buildings, the cheapest form of non-governmental housing available. And if it weren't the cheapest, nobody'd live there. So if you do that, we submit to you that it's not an approach that we took at the start of this, nor one that we should carry on at the present. Thank you.
Kay Pfeiffer.
My name is Kay Pfeiffer, and I live at 15370 Weddington in Sherman Oaks. I work for a property management company, and I kind of think of myself as the lady in the middle. My job is to make sure that our residents are happy and well cared for and taken care of, but my job also is to see that our owner makes a reasonable profit. So I kind of think that I have a kind of a view from both sides. I think what the man just said it applies to us. We feel like the Olympic diver that dives off the diving board, and in the middle of the dive, somebody says, "Excuse me, we've changed the rules." That's happened to us a lot in the last few years. We've tried, at least I can speak for myself, we've tried very hard to abide by these laws in the strictest manner that we possibly can. And it's hard. Most of our properties are getting substandard. We are not able to charge market rent. We abide by the 3%, 4% every year. It makes it very difficult for an owner to be motivated to buy properties when this happens. We can't build a better city unless we have some even-handedness here. Our investment from earthquake this time was in excess of $700,000. If you put a cap on us, it's going to take us there's no way we can recap that over the year. We've adhered ourselves to less than $25, and so we haven't even hit your $75 cap. But I just feel very strongly that these rules that keep restricting the landlord doesn't benefit our residents in the long run, because what happens, you get landlords who will come and cut their services or give cheap services. We try to give our tenants the best that we can possibly give them. So I ask that you consider the landlord's position in this and help us to preserve clean, good places.
Very good. Thank you very much. Steve Melick.
My name is Stephen Melnick, and I'm representing nobody but myself. And most of you don't know me, and you're lucky. I used to come down here all the time and give John Ferraro a lot of trouble and some of you other guys. And mostly Joel Wax and I think Hal Burnson. In a word, I just found out this morning, I went to the office, and lo and behold, here's this call and said, well, hell's going to break loose down here. There's some special thing coming up, and it pertains to these pass-throughs and the seismic. Well, seismic was a big thing with me because I was involved in it right up to my ears personally and as a property manager. I'm a CPM, I'm a certified property manager, so I work with this full-time forever. Anyway, in a word, way back, and I must have been 78 or 79, the RAC was sworn in. Bradley swore them in, and they weren't supposed to have anybody there other than just the officialdom, but for no good reason, Kathleen Connell let me come in, and in the midst of their proceedings and all, I guess I was getting agitated. She said, I can see he's on the verge of bursting, so let's find out what's bothering him. And in a word, it was this. I had just gotten a loan from the Bank of America, and I don't know, $5,000, $10,000, and the interest rate was 24%. This is right when, what's his name was in Yale. I think the prime rate was 14 and a half. And so in a word, what I wanted to say is that, look, if they put through this seismic program, it hadn't been passed yet, and it'll run in a range of $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 per building, and you can't pass anything through, these people will lose their properties. Well, anyway, the RAC voted, I think it was something like 5-2 against any pass-through. They broke for dinner about 6:30, went out and came back, and when they got back, Bill Solomon, who was one of the big shots with Western Center on Law and Poverty, said he'd been thinking about it, and what came to mind was this, that they individually, the RAC commissioners and the city of Los Angeles, could be responsible for anybody who lost the property as a result of having to do seismic work and then not being able to carry the legal or the financial burden of it. So this would be in violation of the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. So the RAC then reversed itself within a matter of maybe an hour or so from a 5-2 no vote to a 7-0 vote. And so at this late date, when I see that here's this talk about not passing it through or limiting this and doing that and so on, this is preposterous. One, like way back, ex post facto, you just don't do things retroactively. And number two, as an owner of unreinforced masonry buildings that have been brought up to code, I can't get earthquake insurance. The insurance companies won't write them. They'll do it on a nice little one-story stucco house, but they sure as hell won't do it on a 3- or 4-story brick building.
All right, you're going to have to come to...
All right, I'll wind up. So I would, since I don't believe there are any meetings been held on this, why don't we get the underwriters people in? Why don't we have hearings and bring in experts and everybody else? And rather than pass anything now, explore completely and see what should be done. Thank you.
Okay, the last speaker is it, I can't, is it John? John Macara? You got it.
My name is John Macara. I owe only 8 units, which are 2 of them empty for a whole year. Hard to rent, and I even had to give it to my tenant discount on the rent. So right now, I'm in a process to retrofit my buildings on account from the earthquake, which I didn't realize that earthquake damage was down. I noticed the little damage, but I didn't know. So I am applying for HUD as financial assistance, and I call in July, and now it's February, March, and I'm still nowhere. I comply with everything that was required from me to do, and I'm still nowhere. But the rent in Los Angeles, as you know, that is very difficult to rent any property, especially in my area where is 75% poverty. So there are 4 buildings empty, 2 boarded up, and 1 is refurbished, which is brand new.
Okay, I think we get the point.
4 months, still empty. So I just ask you, please have a mercy on us. We are not greedy landlords. We are slaves to our tenants. Thank you.
All the cards we have, and we'll close the public hearing. Mr. Fuhr, there are a lot of people who want to be heard, so I'd ask the council members to be as brief as possible.
Or as stirring as possible, Mr. President. The issue before us is, as between apartment owners and tenants, who should bear the burden when, for example, because of an earthquake, major rehabilitation work is necessary. And what's before us, and the reason I called this special the other day and sought to have it continued, is an improvement of what we had before us on Wednesday. On Wednesday, what was before us would have said to a family at the margins, a working family whose apartment might, for example, rent for $500 a month, that you could see an enormous escalation in your rent, and as a consequence, may be no longer able to afford your unit. What was before us and what is still before us today allows responsible landlords to recoup their costs. In fact, what's interesting is that if you embark on a capital improvements program under city law, you can only recoup half of your costs, 50%. This says, let's allow a responsible landlord to pass, if you have insurance, 100% of the costs along to tenants. But let's have the tenants only have to swallow this in bits and pieces to assure that we don't render people who are doing their best to afford basic levels of housing. Let's assure that we allow those people to remain in their units, because after all, no one here would believe that they should bear the entire burden of the disaster in a way that would render them even worse off than they were before the thing even happened. That's what's before us today. A reasonable limitation. $75 a month is a big escalation in rent for a lot of folks. Even 10% is a big escalation on a monthly basis for a lot of folks in this city. It's an enormous increase. But it's an attempt to balance the legitimate needs of apartment owners to get their money back as they spend money for rehabilitation, and the opportunities that we need to assure we afford to our tenants. So I am a very strong supporter of the percent limitation. As I suggested the other day, that's only fair. As for the 50% limitation, if you aren't responsible enough to procure disaster insurance that includes earthquake, we can further discuss that with our housing department, but I'm apprised that such insurance is available. Now, if one wants to roll the dice that there isn't going to be such a disaster, and therefore only receive half of what they spend in rehabilitation, that roll of the dice is allowed under what's before us, and puts such a landlord in precisely the same position they would be were they embarking on a capital improvements program. This is a fair approach. It is a measured approach. If anything, tenants at the margins are still going to be hit potentially hard by such a mandate, but at least we'll assure that our housing stock improves in a timely way. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Mr. Holden.
Mr. President, it sounds good, and I haven't quite made up my mind yet, but I just have some concerns. One, a responsible landlord. Let's define what a responsible landlord would do. A responsible landlord would go out and get earthquake insurance. And they would have a deductible, which that could be passed on once it triggers. Say, for an example, you have a deductible of $100,000 or $50,000. Then you can pass on that deductible, but the insurance will cover the difference. I think that's a responsible landlord. But for an example, if the landlord has bad credit and FEMA, with a record of not paying their bills, and FEMA would ordinarily give a loan or arrange for a loan or arrange for a local entity to provide a loan, but they would not qualify because of their credit rating. Then therefore they have to go out and make some kind of conventional loan at higher interest rates, pay for the damages because the insurance companies, the lending agency required that be done. Then, of course, you pass on the entire amount. Well, that landlord obviously was not a responsible landlord and didn't pay his debts, his or her debts. I think what you're trying to do is reasonable and feasible, certainly is fair. But at the same time, there are too many loopholes where the tenant will be the one that can be burned when you have a landlord who claims to be responsible, but certainly is not. And most of them say, I'm safe and protected because no matter what happens, I don't need insurance, I don't need this, I don't need to pay my bills because I'm authorized to pass it on anyway for those properties that will be corrected. And at the same time, they'll still be permitted to raise their percent fee concurrent with what they're passing on, which makes it a double burden. I think that if you want to go forward with this, that you try and fix it between now and the time that you bring the ordinance back. Because I think that we should, and each individual case will be signed off by the Rent Stabilization Board. Each house will come in, and the question will be asked, did you have insurance? Do you have a grant? Is it being delayed? And for how long? And the question is not there, were you a responsible landlord and took the following precautionary action prior to this event taking place? And if the answer to that is no, it doesn't make any difference because what else we have in this ordinance would trigger. I think that we got to have a fairness doctrine associated with this ordinance, and I think that something should go forward but she should take the time to fix it and close the loopholes which now exist. So as Mr. Fuhr talked about, any amount is more than somebody can afford if they're on a fixed income. But at the same time, somebody's got to pay, and if it's not the landlord's fault, it's not the tenant's fault, only if the landlord didn't have those protections.
Thank you.
And so I think that's something you want to look at.
Mr. Hernandez.
You know, members of the council, we have a housing crisis throughout this whole city. And I need us to put in context what's really going on. We know that housing depreciated in value during a certain period of Los Angeles, right after a housing boom. And what it meant is landlords bought housing at this price, and now it was worth this price, and prices are beginning to recuperate right now. But what it also means is a lot of those apartment buildings are leveraged out. Now, I can honestly share with you that the passing away of my mom, which she thought was a nest of money she was leaving for her children and her grandchildren, was in real estate. And the reality is all that real estate was lost to foreclosure. And the reason it was lost to foreclosure is the notes on the real estate were higher than what the property was worth. Now, I'm explaining it to you because we as a city are no longer building new housing. We've seen what we had to do with the budget in terms of housing. And we want to re-encourage rehabilitation of housing. Now, I know that as a city, we're finding that impossible to do without us subsidizing $103,000 to $150,000 per unit. Now, the reason I'm bringing it up is because when I read these ordinance changes, what I see happening is a cap of $75, for example, means that that property or that unit would generate an additional, I guess, $900 a year. The loan points for a $7,500 loan could cost you $900. And then it would be 10 years to recoup. And I don't see where that becomes an incentive for a landlord to make a $7,500 investment to rehab. What would happen is he would stop maintaining the building. And we're seeing it day to day on REAP. Now, the reason I'm bringing it up because this is not the position I want to be in. Most of my constituents are tenants. But I'm trying to figure out how to improve the quality of life of those tenants and create incentives for landlords to do the work. I'm not sure these changes are going to do that. And see how it is that we take what we call a pass-through and make it a credit above and beyond and allow them to basically look at a deduction in other areas is part of what I'm trying to say. I want to give an example of a rehab building that we just honored and cherished the tenants, and that was Cambria. And you need to understand that it was a blighted as they come, 68 one-bedroom units. The tenants were fighting gang members inside of it, and the landlord could care less because it was leveraged out. A $250,000 delinquent water and power bill on top of delinquent taxes. That was converted to 38 units with 3 and 4 bedroom units. But it took substantial subsidy from the city of Los Angeles.
All right. Thank you.
How we can create those incentives is what I think we need to focus on the rent stabilization ordinance.
Thank you. Mr. Burnson.
Well, I think a lot's already been said. I just want to point out something to those of you that are talking about earthquake insurance. The type of earthquake insurance that's offered by the CEA, or California Earthquake Authority today, is really not much of the means of insurance. The deductible is extremely high. The benefits that are paid are very poor. So for those of you that had earthquake coverage before the Northridge quake, do not expect that the CEA type coverage that's available today is going to be adequate. And neither is it affordable. It's about 3 times the price I'm paying. My cost would have been 3 times the cost that I had prior to the earthquake, and my coverage is about maybe 25%. So even though it may be advisable in many cases to carry this insurance, there are many people who really believed in earthquake insurance before who simply felt that it was a bad investment today. I happen to be one of those.
Ms. Goldberg.
The issue, though, first of all, let me just say that this is only a catastrophic cap. Other kinds of rehab are covered by different rules. They don't have a cap. No, I'm just saying it because that argument came up. And in the area of catastrophic, people may decide that they think that earthquake insurance is a good deal or not a good deal. That's their own business decision. But it is clear to me that the tenant shouldn't be insuring their own buildings. And if you give 100% pass-through, there's virtually no incentive to find any other method of protecting the building from catastrophic. So I can't support that. I just can't support that. On the other hand, I think a key thing here is to remember two parts of this. First of all, there is a write-off for a lot of this in the tax code, as well as the interest. And that means that not 100% of the cost of this is actually needs to be passed through, because they don't pay 100% of the cost. Even with a small amount of damage in my house, I found that we were able to take just on one single unit a tax break, because we had insurance but were unable to collect on it, like so many people did. In any case, that's another story. The other problem, I think, that the other reason why I think we need to support 20A is because that we're talking about if you had a 30-year loan, we're talking about $27,000 a unit with the cap. And if you had more damage than that, the issue is that probably the building is gone. Because these are larger buildings on the whole, and if you multiply that 27,000 by the number of units, plus the tax write-offs that people do get for the interest as well, I think that we are not harming people, and the cap only applies to catastrophic issues, the earthquake or a major flood that wipes out, the whole first floor carpeting or whatever. I don't think you're going to find that you're going to go above this $27,000 a unit, and I do think that this is a good measure that is even-handed and says that you can collect this on the life of the loan, which is very important, so that you don't have somebody trying to put all of the costs on immediately and then be able to amortize it out for themselves. And I think it's a very fair and even-handed thing, and I think we should pass it as amended.
Mrs. Walters. Mrs. Chick, would you press your button again?
Thank you, Mr. President. Council members, I'm concerned. I was shocked when I learned it was $75 a month that they could charge people. And I'm still concerned about 50% on the monthly rent, although in 10% of the monthly rent. In a unit that rented for $600, that's $60 extra a month. And in the district that I represent, people are really living so close to the margin that $60 extra a month is not something that they would be able to afford to pay. So I just am very troubled about this. And in the mathematical calculation that Mr. Hernandez cited about the $900 annual collected from one apartment, but if it's just one apartment, one unit, it's not an apartment building. And if it's a multiple unit building, then you have to multiply that many times over. I think that when landlords determine that they're going to be landlords, that they're going to be in that business, and that they really have to take steps to see that they're insured or see that they qualify for these FEMA loans. I have great difficulty seeing people on fixed incomes, as the people in Ms. Chick's district are, or people who are low income, should be charged to finance these repairs. It's troubling. And when you find that many people in the district in which I live are living together, numerous families living together, sharing a space in order to be able to make the monthly rent payment. people are getting exorbitant rates for some very slum housing. Downtown we have that, where people are being charged horribly for slum space. And then to think that they would then have to add 10% of what they're already having difficulty paying is a matter of real concern. I wish we could lower that 10% figure to something more reasonable that would not put people out on the street or force people to leave. We talk about incentivizing landlords. We're de-incentivizing tenants because they may not be able to pay this.
Mr. Wax.
The cap is per month. But you can keep, the landlord can charge for as many months as is necessary to recover the total cost. No, you can go more than 5 years. So, assuming he's financing the improvements one way or another, eventually the tenant will still pay the full cost of the rehabilitation. And you also have vacancy decontrol, that if any time from here to the future one of those units becomes vacant, the rent can be raised to any level the market will bear. So it's not like saying that the landlord will not be able to recover, that the landlord has to bear the burden of all these costs. It'll finance it out in a way, but the tenant is still basically paying for it.
Mr. Alarcon.
I don't have a problem conceptually or generally with what we're trying to accomplish here. There's a couple of things, and I'm not sure with regard to the issue of the 50% pass-through and the instructions to the city attorney to report back. I understand. I just don't understand why 50% versus another. I'd like to see some kind of analysis on why we landed on that figure. Even if the city attorney comes back and says it's legal, I'd like it to go back to committee to be reviewed in terms of why that figure versus some other figure. But the other concern I have, and it's very hard to follow this the way that it's laid out here. It has to do with where we're requiring the owners I have no problem with requiring the owners to pay or to get rents or allowing owners to get rents for the work that was done, but then when the principal is paid off, that they stop getting that. However, the problem I have is in 4 where it says this is retroactive. Pardon me?
That's being held. We don't know if we can do that or not anyway.
Right. So are we referring the retroactivity back to the city attorney to understand whether that's legal or not?
Ms. Chick, we're referring the retroactivity back. Yes.
Oh, okay. Then I have no problem.
Mrs. Chick.
Yes, I just want to both reassure my colleagues as well as our apartment managers and apartment owners. The changes here are not making any changes in the property owner's ability to collect 100% of their costs. And Ms. Walters, in terms of the concerns on how large the increases can be, I very much share those concerns. And the problem is, as I think you realize also, we're trying to balance making sure that owners have the ability to recoup the costs and in a way that encourages them very early on to fully rehabilitate the building and to protect tenants from not being literally put out of the buildings because the rents go up so high. Colleagues, I am encouraged by your comments that we can move forward today with 20 and 28 amending it, and the really substantive change that is looking at incentivizing property owners to do earthquake insurance, as well as the retroactivity issue, will go back to committee and come back to the council. But I ask for an aye vote on 20 and as amended with 28.
Mr. Hernandez?
How many of us own apartment buildings? How many of us manage apartment buildings? The 15 of us, none of us do. Oh, Mr. Holden does. I take it back. Now, the reason I'm asking the question is I'm really trying to get us to understand that day to day, we vote for hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars to subsidize nonprofits to get into the apartment management business. We do that every day because the private sector is not doing it, cannot do it. We're right now passing a group of rules that we think will help. And what I'm trying to explain right now is I'm not sure that's true. See, I want to increase the housing stock. I want the catastrophic improvements to be done. I want the rehab to happen. But I have a marketplace that's telling me it's almost impossible. See, I want you to understand that, and I want to use the example of one of the houses of my mom's, because we as a family had to make difficult decisions. You have 5 units. Okay, appraised value of the property is $250,000. Outstanding notes was $323,000 because she had taken out notes to make improvements. Currently pending 17 additional thousand worth of improvements. Now the family's being asked to take over the properties. Family does mathematics, says we can't. We won't qualify for the note to do the improvements because it's already over leveraged. So it goes into foreclosure. Goes back to the $250,000. $250,000 needs to sell that property, but they also know that the $17,000 worth of improvements have to be made. So they got to discount it to $233,000. By the time that process happens, it has to be discounted to $225,000 or $200,000. Meanwhile, that housing stock's not being used. See, I'm just trying to explain it because limiting the rents, and I understand that a 30-year investment, people talk about a 30-year investment to recoup the money. That's not what investors invest in property for periods. So the question is, how do you create the capital to make the improvements? And that's why I'm saying we got to figure out how to create those abilities to leverage these funds so that the private sector starts doing what we subsidize every day when we vote on subsidized housing. And we're doing it for multi-units, and we're doing it in the areas where it needs to be done. But we as government subsidize it, and here we're trying to tell the private sector, you got rules that the government doesn't have to abide by.
Mr. Holden?
Just to clear the record, Mr. President, how I vote on this is no conflict because the property that I own is in Ladera Heights, and I own a great big building in Marina Del Rey.
Ladera Heights, isn't that L.A.? In Ladera Heights in the city of L.A.?
No, Ladera Heights is an unincorporated area, which is the county. Yeah, I thought you knew that, Mr. President.
After
driving through the
I
neighborhood
knew
one
the
time.
marina was not...
They'll let you in, Mr. President.
I knew the marina was...
It's called it.
But how was the weather at the marina this morning? Was it beautiful, Nate?
Well, I can tell you the water was wet.
County.
Okay. What do we have before us now?
You have the amended motion by Councilmember Chick, 20A.
All right, prepare the roll on the amendment. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes, 1 no.
That is approved. Now we have 20 as amended. Prepare the roll on 20 as amended. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes, 1 no.
That is approved. Next item.
5 called special, Councilmember Goldberg.
Ms. Goldberg, you call 5 special. Ms. Goldberg, you call 5 special.
I certainly did. I really just had one question. Are there people here from Building and Safety? Could I ask you to come forward, please? First, I just want to commend the Plum Committee and the department and particularly its chair, Mr. Burnson. I think that at some point in time, long after we're all gone and there are no people left on the face of the earth, the city of Los Angeles buildings will still be standing. And I think that will be quite an accomplishment. But on pages, and you don't have to look at all of them because it's a generic question, but on pages 34, 37, 38, 39, 41, 42, 46, and 48, there are exceptions in each of those pages to various hillside and slope areas to some of these requirements. And I read them all very carefully, and I'm concerned because annually we buy Pacific Palisades housing. Now I think we're going to be buying, what was the area that you were referring to, Mr. West Hills housing. And I just wanted to be reassured that those exceptions on those various pages for hillside and slopes are not going to require future councils to continue buying hillside and slope housings after major rainstorms or other events like that. I'm not an engineer. I did read them very carefully, but I was concerned as I saw the large number of exceptions in the hillside slope areas. I just wanted you to reassure me publicly that you are not going to lead us down a trail with these new rules that have enough exceptions to provide us with extraordinary liability and a lot of new home ownership for the city of Los Angeles.
Okay. Well, Councilman Goldberg, I'm happy to affirm to you that those exceptions are because they're minor and inconsequential amounts of work or involvement or scope, and that Pacific Palisades, with its many problems it's historically had, has always been one of our primary interests. We carefully review certain areas of the city, including that one, and there is nothing in these proposed ordinances that will lighten up our careful review of any approvals in those areas.
Or any other hillside.
Or any other hillside areas throughout the city.
Okay. Well, that's all I wanted to ask. Thank you very much.
Okay. Anyone else want to be heard on 5? If not, prepare the roll. Tabulate. Yeah. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Forthwith.
That is approved. Forthwith on that.
Thank you.
Next item,
10 called special by Councilmember Hernandez.
Mr. Hernandez.
I have no question on the item, Mr. President.
Okay. Prepare the roll on 10. Tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. Next item.
17B called special. A card was submitted.
Okay, let's see. We have Ginny Barrett, Phyllis Doherty. I guess Ginny Barrett was able to speak earlier. Okay, we have 17B before us. Is there any discussion? The public hearing is closed. If not, prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Next item.
It's the time for comments from the public on non-agenda items.
Okay, we have Richard Robinson.
Mr. President, members of council, the elected Charter Reform Commission meets in Councilperson Hernandez District Monday night in the Angelica Lutheran Church at 1345 South Burlington Avenue at 6. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else want to be heard on public comment? Only card we have, so public comment period is closed. Next item.
Motions for posting and referral.
If there's no objections, unanimous vote.
Councilman Hernandez has requested to be excused personal business for Tuesday and Wednesday, February 24th and 25th, meets council policy.
Unanimous vote.
Closed session, item 19.
Okay, we have an executive session, so will everyone please leave the council chamber that's not involved with the executive session? is in session. Anything else before us, Diane?
Oh, I guess not, Mr. President.
We
That
have
was
adjourning
quick.
motions. Would everyone please stand? Members of the council, Hal Burnson asked that we adjourn in memory of Chris Scobie, who was owned restaurants in the valley, King's Arms and Queen's Arms and Encino, Scobie's Restaurant, and I'd like to second that. I'd also ask that we adjourn in memory of Gabe Orland, who passed away. He leaves his wife and son, 2 sons, Alan and Gary. And I also ask that we adjourn in memory of former supervisor in Orange County, Thomas Riley, who passed away.
What do we all just go on that?
Yeah, I'll go on that. And members, it was appropriate today that we honored Jaime Karim, who Hall of Fame, but let's adjourn in memory of Harry, who
Yes, let's
passed
do that.
away. A great announcer. All members on that. Mr. Alarcon.
Council members, I'd like to request that we adjourn in the memory of Mary Lou Buster. Mary Lou is the grandmother of one of my field deputies, Alex Tucker, and she passed away of a heart condition. She was a lifelong member of the First Baptist Church of South Boston, Virginia. She leaves her son, Alex Tucker Sr., her grandson, Alex Tucker, and her son, Sam Tucker.
Mr. Alatorre.
I would also...
Yes. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'd also like to adjourn in the memory of Robert Bankhead. He passed away at the age of 63 recently. He was the owner of San Fernando Appliance Service Center and a resident of Lakeview Terrace and Pacoima for over 40 years. He was a member of the Valley Berean Christian Church and a very active community member. He leaves his wife, Annie Pearl, 2 sons, 6 daughters, 12 grandchildren, and 1 great-granddaughter.
Mr. Alatorre.
Yes, I'd like to adjourn in the memory of Roberto Delgado. He's a constituent of mine and lived in El Sereno for many years. Leaves a large family of people that were shocked at his death, and I'd like to adjourn his memory.
Ms. Goldberg.
Yes, I'd like to ask that we adjourn in memory of Mary Schumacher, who died at the age of 70 after a long illness. She is survived by her son, Thomas Schumacher, who some of you may know from Disney Animation, a friend of mine, and by Kate and Peg Schumacher. Also, I'd like to ask that we adjourn in memory of Sidney Levin, who is a cousin of Jim Bickhart, an assemblyman Villaraigosa's office.
I'd like to join you.
Sidney was a UCLA graduate, an attorney, a prominent community activist, lived a good part of his life in the California Central Valley. He is survived by his wife, Laura Lee, his 2 daughters, Jennifer and Deborah, and his 2 stepsons, Michael and Brian.
I'd like to be able to also join that, Chairman.
Any others? If not,
God, there aren't any others, Mr.
call the roll. Aye, the council is adjourned.